What is going on, guys? It is Fluxified here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be diving deep into all of the latest news for Rust Console Edition from this last week. And you know what? There has actually been some quite interesting reveals overall. We've had new screenshots from the next gen version of the game. We've had new questions answered by the developers online. And there's one specific question that the community have been asking the developers for quite a long time now. And it finally was answered, so it's definitely great to have that clarified. I can't wait to talk about that and more later in the video. Let's get into it. Firstly, we had a question asked what will happen to the old gen public test branch in the future, and the answer by Double 11 was the public test branch on old gen will remain the same, however the changes will be a lot lesser as future updates for old gen will be focused solely on improvement and bug fixes. And then they say that new gen will have its own public test branch, which is to be expected as it is a different version of the game at the end of the day. So to break down what they're basically saying here is that the public test branch on old gen will continue to be active, but we won't really see any new pieces of content directly put onto it. And definitely if, for example, on the public test branch on the next gen version we have, I don't know, minicopters or new weapons or something like that, you shouldn't expect to also see that for the public test branch on the old gen version. It does seem like those are two different versions of the game, and old gen will really only see smaller updates such as bug fixes and things like that after the new gen version is released. Now, we did have another question answered as well, and the question was, will we get more options for community server providers? And the answer that Double 11 provided was potentially. We are currently in talks with additional server providers and will share more info about this closer to release. So I don't think they're saying that community server providers will get more options in terms of server customization. I think it's more a case of currently the only provider is G-Portal, and Double 11 are in talks with different server providers about bringing Rust console servers to their platform. And obviously this will have a lot of benefits. Say if G-Portal goes down or is having issues, any community servers that aren't using G-Portal and are using another platform obviously won't be affected, so it does definitely have its benefits. Moving on from the questions, we actually had a couple of screenshots posted this week. One is of the fishing village with a submarine park just outside, and I think it's a great showing overall for the new water in the game. It definitely looks a lot better than what we have currently. I'll show a picture of the current version right now just so you can see that kind of difference, and I believe just overall this really showcases the quality that we're going to be getting in the next gen version. This is definitely a standout image. We can see the sun streaming over the building, we can see the water, even the foliage towards the left just looks a lot more higher quality than what we have currently, and I think this is the first monument that they've actually shown us on the next gen version as well, so hopefully this is a sign that they will be showing us more monuments just like this in the future. Now, following the fishing village image, we also got another screenshot from the next gen version. This is of a hazmat standing on a grassy hill looking over into the sunset, and it is a very pretty image actually, and the hazmat's positioning actually looks like my old thumbnails, so I might be using that in the future, you never know. Thank you, D11. But overall, I think this is just another great showing for the next gen version. I think we're seeing the images a lot faster now. They're definitely putting the new images of this next gen version out at a faster pace, and I think it really shows that the developers are actually quite confident with the next gen version of the game in its current state, and it really definitely does look good. And now we're going to move on to what I believe is the biggest news of this week. Now, this comes in the form of a question that was asked on Twitter by a user by the name of Up the Chelsea. Pedro, please can you give us all an update on the beta? Now, Pedro is the senior community manager for Double 11, so he is the one best suited to answer any kind of questions by the community, and he responded to his question and said, there's no beta announcements. At the moment, we have nothing planned. And in this situation, we have no reason, obviously, not to believe this. Pedro is the community manager at the end of the day, so if he's telling the community this, then we have to trust him on that. So at the moment, it definitely doesn't look like there is a beta for the next gen version that is going to be planned. We've heard it officially now from the developers. Honestly though, I really would like to see some kind of a beta for this next gen version. I think obviously it's going to let players play this early at the end of the day, and most of us do want to play this as soon as possible, so that's definitely going to be a good thing as far as spreading good word of mouth about the game goes. But also I think if the developers are planning on charging us money for the next gen version, it does allow players the opportunity to experience the product that they're going to be paying money for, and then make their own decision on whether they think it's going to be worth it for them, or if they're not going to pay for this next gen version. Now, I did put out a poll on YouTube about 4 days ago now, and I asked you all if you would pay for the next gen version of Rust console, and if so, how much? And at the time of this recording, we have 65 votes, with 11% of you saying that you wouldn't pay, 72% of you saying that yes, you would pay $10 or $20 for it, and 17% of you saying that yes, you would pay and you'd pay full price for it, aka $50. Now obviously this is only a small amount of the community, it's only 65 people at the end of the day, but I do think that it still does reflect what the community actually wants from this next gen version and what they expect this price to be. It does seem like most of you expect to be paying about $10 to $20 and you would be willing to commit to that, but I do find it genuinely interesting that over 10% of you would not pay for this next gen version, and I think those are the people specifically that Double 11 needs to convince that this next gen version is going to be worth it. So yeah, I know I've gone off on a bit of a tangent on this one, but I really do think that a beta would be really useful for the developers to do, just for the reasons I've said. Obviously there are still a few people that aren't sure if they would like to pay for this next gen version, and if the developers want to sway those people and try and convince them that it's worth it, I think a beta would go a long way to doing that, and just showing those people really at the end of the day what they're paying for and the content that they can expect on day one. But I think that just about wraps up the news and my thoughts this week for Rust console. If you did like this video, be sure to drop a like and please consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 300 subscribers by the end of April. But now though, I have been Fluxified. Thank you for watching and I'll see you on the beach.